Most people view wealth building as a simple ladder. You save $10,000 and conclude you are precisely 10% of the way to $100,000. This mental model creates a trap. If every $10,000 block requires the same amount of manual labor to earn, reaching your goals feels like an endless cycle of trading your limited time for a paycheck. $30,000 marks the point where this linear relationship breaks. At this threshold, your capital gains enough mass to begin generating its own momentum through compound returns and the ability to purchase your own time. When you miss this transition, you stay on the financial hamster wheel indefinitely, assuming that more work is the only way to generate more wealth. The journey to that threshold is defined by your stress levels. At $5,000, you operate in survival mode. Every minor financial decision carries the weight of disaster because one car repair could wipe out your net worth. Reaching the $10,000 mark establishes a basic emergency fund. You gain the ability to handle a crisis without going into debt, providing the first real sense of safety you've likely felt in years. By the time you reach $20,000, you move into growth mode. You have enough of a buffer to quit a toxic job if a better one appears, and you can finally start contributing meaningfully to retirement accounts. But this comfort is exactly what kills ambition. Most people stop pushing right here, satisfied with their newfound security, just as the actual mechanics of wealth are about to take over. At $30,000, your brain moves past the survival instinct of hoarding cash and begins evaluating capital based on its long-term potential. You transition from managing money through emotion to managing it through strategy. You move from a defensive posture to an offensive one. You can now afford the calculated risks, like investing in a new skill or a small business, that were impossible when you were just trying to cover next month's rent. This creates what we call the no power. $30,000 gives you the leverage to reject desperate options, whether that's a manipulative boss, a high-stress side hustle, or a sketchy investment opportunity. Removing that desperation changes how you interact with the world. When you have the capacity to walk away, you naturally gravitate toward higher quality opportunities that respect your time and value. With $30,000, you can begin treating every dollar as an employee with a specific job description. A portion of your capital acts as the guards. They sit in your emergency fund to protect your baseline, ensuring that an unexpected crisis never forces you to liquidate your long-term assets. Another group acts as the recruiters. These are the dollars you put into index funds and retirement accounts, where their only job is to compound and bring back more capital to join the team. The final group serves as scouts. You deploy these dollars toward professional certifications or new business ventures that have the incredible potential to multiply your earning power. Organizing your money into these automated systems is what separates those who simply accumulate cash from those who build self-sustaining wealth. This threshold changes the math of your time. If you can earn $50 an hour at your job, spending 3 hours to find a $20 discount on a gadget is now a net loss for your household. You enter the freedom flywheel by using your $30,000 buffer to purchase convenience. You stop doing low-value tasks and start reclaiming your hours. You reinvest that reclaimed time into developing high-leverage skills or assets. You learn the high-value systems that eventually double your hourly rate. This creates a powerful self-sustaining engine. You buy time, develop a skill, and increase your income, which in turn allows you to buy even more time to scale the system. The greatest temptation at $30,000 is to use it as a down payment on a luxury car. It's an easy way to look rich while actively stalling your progress toward becoming wealthy. Contrast that with the wealth builder who puts that same $20,000 into a diversified portfolio of compounding assets. After 5 years, the car has depreciated into a $12,000 liability. Meanwhile, the investment portfolio has likely grown toward $35,000. That $23,000 gap is the price of choosing comfort over systems. Crossing this border is the ultimate test. Will you spend your capital to look successful today, or deploy it to secure your freedom forever? Think of $30,000 as your base camp. You aren't at the summit, but you are finally in position for the real exponential climb. Proving you can delay gratification on this scale builds an unshakable self-trust. You have demonstrated to yourself that you can follow a plan even when it's boring or difficult. The habits that got you here will now drive the system forward automatically. Every dollar you've saved on the way to 30,000 was a vote for the resilient person you are now becoming.
$30,000 is your base camp. It proves you can build a system and it proves you can delay gratification. But there's a psychological trap waiting at the next major milestone, one that convinces you the climb is already over. There is a universal fantasy about crossing the $50,000 mark in your savings. You imagine breathing a sigh of relief, kicking back, and treating yourself to an upgraded lifestyle.
There's a universal fantasy about crossing the $50,000 mark in your savings. You imagine breathing a sigh of relief, kicking back, and treating yourself to an upgraded lifestyle. Up until this point, your locus of control has been external. Money dictated your stress levels. The daily math of groceries and bank balances created a constant background anxiety that directed how you lived and how well you slept. But as you hit that milestone, your brain hits a tripwire, the $50,000 trap. After years of operating in scarcity, your nervous system sees a large balance and concludes that the struggle is over. Financial advisors see this constantly. People hit the number and immediately sabotage their progress. They relax the frugal habits that got them there, or upgrade their car simply because the cash is available. $50,000 acts as a psychological threshold that changes your decision-making logic and triggers a series of behavioral paradoxes. The first paradox involves risk. You would assume that having $50,000 to protect would make a person more cautious. Instead, you cross the security threshold. This is the point where you stop viewing money as a survival resource and start seeing it as a tool for opportunity. It's the difference between running away from a bear and running toward a goal. Both involve running, but the psychological experience is completely different. In practice, this looks like negotiating harder for a raise, pivoting your career, or investing without panicking at a market dip. Crossing this threshold gives you the psychological safety net required to choose which risks will build your wealth. The second paradox involves how you spend. While $50,000 feels like wealth, it often triggers an intense protectiveness, or wealth paranoia. This shows the shift from present bias to temporal flexibility. When broke, your view is limited to immediate needs. As savings grow, your timeline expands. You now evaluate purchases based on long-term opportunity cost, asking if a dinner outweighs future growth. Because you are playing a longer game, your energy shifts. You stop focusing on cutting small expenses and focus on maximizing your total income. This results in a specific consumer identity, someone with expensive taste in things that matter to their goals and cheap taste in everything else. Then there is the social paradox. While money solves problems, crossing this threshold can introduce sudden guilt and social friction. Interpersonal dynamics change. Friends expect you to pay, or family might resent your new financial boundaries. You may even feel a sense of wealth guilt, feeling selfish for holding on to resources while observing the financial struggles of others. Navigating this friction reveals a practical truth. Financial compatibility is as important to long-term relationships as any other shared value. This chart compares the math of the milestone. A 5% yield on a small balance is negligible, but on $50,000, it generates $2,500 a year. Compound interest moves from a theory to a tangible force. Managing this growth requires a calm investment psychology. You build the fortitude to watch market crashes and see them as buying opportunities rather than disasters. The $50,000 milestone represents the character built during the years it took to reach it. This journey builds financial muscles through years of discipline. By consistently choosing future security over immediate purchases, you shift your reward system to find more satisfaction in a growing balance than in new possessions. The result is agency, the quiet assurance that you control your circumstances and that money no longer dictates your life.